Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be talking about one of my pet hates, okay? We're going to be talking about, of course, the UK labelling system. The system you might think couldn't possibly get worse because, well, in fact, it's not that transparent after all. If you follow the channel, guys, you know I'm doing the Food Exposed, where we're looking at the lack of transparency and what is on the labels to actually make us understand what kind of rubbish they were currently fed. So, of course, now we're talking about not for EU labels. We thought that the system couldn't possibly get any worse. Well, in fact, it's exactly what it's looking like. It's looking like it's now splitting into what I'm going to be calling a two-tier system, okay? So the latest labels, not for EU, okay? This is what a lot of you expressed the concerns. And to be fair myself, when I first saw that, I'm like, what on earth is that all about? Because I think first time I've seen that about 6 months ago, and it might have appeared on the tin somewhere, not for EU. I'm like, didn't really think anything to it. But now, if you have a look, about 90%, if not more, of all of the products on our shelves now are marked not for EU. So no wonder it created a massive upheave and people are unsure and a little bit puzzled to what on earth does that mean? And why suddenly our produce in UK is no longer acceptable in EU? What is wrong with that? Well, we all know the answer to that, but of course there has got to be some sort of information down there to make us understand better what it is all about. So anyway, so not for EU, right? So information. So this not for EU label stickers is basically intended for the products only sold in the United Kingdom, and it's not packaged or labeled to meet EU export requirements. Okay, right. But we're talking about food, right? The labeling there, if you label everything correctly, everything is good, then happy days, right? The whole idea is they're trying to be as transparent as possible in what they put in the labels, right? So technically it's no problem for it to go into EU, but is not the case. And apparently, so from 2024, okay, there was a new law introduced in the United Kingdom that told the manufacturers to basically make it clear to label whether the goods are stay in the United Kingdom and then separate if their goods are being sent to the EU. And this is hear me, to avoid extra checks and paperwork, okay? Some suppliers might mark this as not for EU and keep them in the UK supply chain. So this is just to avoid extra checks and paperwork. Right? We're talking about those companies that are multi-million pound companies. Extra paperwork, extra checks, so whole other market over you, like big place, lot of countries there, right? And you're gonna not do that because of the paperwork. So you're like, nah, I'm not gonna sell this to all those millions of people there. I'm just gonna stick to a few million here because I don't want to do some paperwork. A bit questionable, right? Don't you think? Yeah. Because I think I would just fill in the paperwork and sell my produce anywhere. But no, I don't think it's actually to do with the paperwork. I think it's to do with the fact they're actually not good enough. Like we thought, like now, everything is labeled really badly, lack of transparency, and it's getting worse. So they're hiding behind the fact saying this is to do with the paperwork and it's just easier for them just not to sell it. I don't think so. Anyway, of course, they keep telling us it doesn't mean it's the lowest standards. Of course not. It's not. It's nothing to do with that. Doesn't mean it's unsafe, and it's basically just trade and legal compliance label. Of course, nothing different, not unsafe, nothing at all. Just what? Just because it's easy for them not to do this. I just don't get it. Anyway, let's have a look at the labeling, okay? In the end of the day, I'll have a look at the different amounts of the meats and the vegetables, because clearly there is a difference, okay? Clearly our food is not good enough. It's not good enough for us, we already know. And of course, it's not good enough to be shipped out there because we seem to be getting worse at labeling. And that's not for EU system, labeling system, now creates more of ability of the companies to hide the information because it's no longer relevant, because we no longer have to conform, or they have to conform to the EU legislation. It's not that they really did anyway. There seems to be that's creating more of a hidden thing. They can just hide behind the label because look, because our rules are here are far like relaxed. So here we are, right? We're talking about the meat. So EU rules are clear about whether meat, milk, and other produce was raised, slaughtered, and packaged. Okay, but in UK they're loose, right? We're talking about the chicken raised and abroad and then packed in the warehouse here could be still labeled as produce in UK. We covered this with many live chats when we talked about the supermarket secrets. All of this is like a farm washing of stuff, right? We basically can import the chicken somewhere else, repackage it, call it UK, and that's acceptable. With the EU, they do have stricter rules, which is exactly how it should be. We shouldn't be hidden behind just packaging something and then naming this UK produce because it bloody isn't. Anyway, additives and chemicals, and again, we'll look at that in a bigger detail towards the end of the video. But so EU has a broader precautionary principle. So if they're in doubt or what's on them, they restrict that. And UK is more often future to relaxations to allow cheaper imports. And again, I've covered this before on the fruits and vegetables, right? We import fruit and veg from different places, different countries that are covered up to 18 pesticides, okay? 7 of those are illegal in United Kingdom to be used by our own farmers, yet we're allowed to import the fruits and vegetables that do have those pesticides on them, and we do not have to declare that. This is how bad this is, okay? This is absolutely horrendous. Anyway, so environmental and animal welfare labels. So EU apparently is now moving towards the mandatory indicators, eco-score and welfare indicators, and we're not even committed to anything like that. So for us, they're just washing their hands of that. Right, we're going to compare UK and EU as the specifics of the thing. So country of origin. So EU, so they must clearly state the country of origin, Spain or Italy. EU or non-EU alone is not allowed for fresh produce. In UK, country is still usually shown, but the rules are very loose in practice. So more use of things like EU, non-EU, mixed origin, picked in UK, that kind of thing. This is all allowed, okay? So basically, like we did this with the olive oil, like I've done the olive oil exposed, we can just say it's a mixture of olives from a mixture of countries. This is acceptable, okay? And apparently in EU, this is not. So you can see they're already by far more advanced in the transparency of their labels. So now we're talking about the grading standards of things that fruits and vegetables, which I've seen in France. They do have class 1, class 2. I'm like, what does that mean? Never seen this before. We don't do this here. But anyway, so in the EU, generally, they have a strict marketing standard for apples, citruses, kiwis, tomatoes, peppers, grapes, strawberries. So they do class 1 and class 2 is defined. So it has to be enforced as well. So there's no two ways about it. They got to mention as a class 1 or class 2. In UK, we don't have anything like that, which for us is just fruit, uniform in the packet, whatever it is. We don't have any of the grading system for fruits and vegetables. So now we talk about the treatment disclosure, like I already said. So EU, so it's mandatory to disclose the post-harvest treatments, and the waxed fruit must be declared. And on the waxed fruit, it must be declared more clearly, which I gotta say that in citrus here in UK, they do declare the post-wax treatment. So you normally have 2 pesticides and 1 wax. That's normally on the top. But apparently the disclosure will exist, but they're really loose. And apparently in a lot of cases, they're found in the United Kingdom that they're quite often absent in terms of they don't have to tell you. Again, we already covered this before on a different video when we talked about some other treatments where whatever they choose to put on the labels, okay, or not to put on labels, put on their fruits and vegetables, they don't have to declare, okay? We covered this with the specific treatment, and we cover in the great detail on the different video. So basically, the outcome is that the EU are far more open and far more stricter to the fruits and vegetables of what's in there. So a consumer, like me and you, can actually make a choice whether he wants to buy this product or not. And of course, with the label stuff, is a basic one, but the EU doesn't have the labels. That's the point. The not for EU or for EU, it doesn't exist, which just opens up and makes us look as a country really stupid, because now, like I said to you guys, it basically splits our standards of food. So just think about it for just last time. So EU, right? They have their food system, everything's as transparent as it could be. I'm sure there is still a lot of loopholes in the labels like it is here as well. But you can see what I'm heading with this, right? So now we've created not for EU. So we automatically, however well they tell us that this is safe, quality, it's not sacrifice, no, it clearly is, because there's 2 tiers. And our tier that it is not for EU clearly is not good enough for a different country. And this is where customers or people also sort of a bit scared that we're going to be aligning our rubbish labeling system and import stuff with US. Okay, they have really poor standards. And as I understand, doing the research on the whole thing, the way this is going, is basically, like I said, is going to be giving companies more ways of hiding behind the non-for-EU labels. So that means they have to declare less. We as a government leave this up to them to sort of, nobody really monitors or pushes them to have a better transparency. So as all those things that we talked about are going to be coming out with the different coatings, different nails, like a lab-grown meat, genetically modified fruits and vegetables, if we're staying under the umbrella, non-for-EU stickers or labels, all of the other stuff is going to be coming out without need to be labeled. Okay, all they're going to be putting in a not-for-EU boom, and you have no idea what's in your fruits, vegetables, and in the tins, and God knows what. So anyway, so this is the reason, guys, I wanted to bring out the video. I had a lot of you messaging and asking what on earth is this all about, and of course, a lot of you have had the right idea of saying clearly the food standards of the food quality is diminishes, hence it's not even good enough to go in a different country. How sad is that? Very. Anyway, guys, well, I hope you find this video helpful. Don't forget, please, thumbs up, subscribe if not a subscriber. It is very important to the channel for it to grow. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.